to 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews, where we randomly pick movies from Metacritic's all-time movie list of over 15,000 movies, covering everything from the best to the very worst, bringing you our genuine impressions and candid opinions, whether we like it or not. Hello and welcome to episode 47 of 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews. This is Colin.
And this is Niall.
And this is random movie number 95 on our best Oscar picture winner list. It was the actual first ever movie to get a best, it was called Best Production at that time. It's Wings from 1927, although it only got the Oscar in 29, I believe. Correct. So it is a non-talkie. It is the reverse of a talkie, the opposite of a talkie. It's and also, to go along with that, it's 2 hours and 24 minutes long with a short intermission at the time to go out and smoke your cigarettes as you did back in the 20s.
Was only like 2 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Ridiculously short.
On Metacritic, it's got
playing.
Yeah, it's on Metacritic, it's got a Metascore of 78, and I used a score of TBD because not many people have reviewed it. Had a budget of $2 million and brought in a box office in America and Canada of $3.8 million. So it was talking big bucks back then. It was directed by William A. Wellman, who was a World War I pilot. So he knew what he was doing and what he wanted to get across with his shooting of the fighting scenes. He directed A Star Was Born, which was remade back a few years ago with Lady Gaga, which I haven't watched either, but I heard it was pretty good. So yeah, it was interesting to go through a silent movie. It was an exercise in patience, which I failed at.
That it was. My biggest gripe. It's probably an unfair gripe because of when it was shot, but the fact that the actors are talking and saying stuff on screen, and then 30 seconds later, the text pops up, and then you have to read it again.
Yeah.
It's if it was subtitled, that would be fine. I actually probably would have enjoyed it. But damn.
Yeah.
Painful. If I was doing this for like a college assignment or something like that, okay, I'd accept it, but it's not a movie I'd watch for enjoyment.
No, and I wonder if, movie snobs would go, "Oh, it's amazing! It's the first Oscar winner. It's a classic. It's part of cinema history." But I just can't look past the fact. I don't know. Maybe we're spoiled in this day and age, or maybe we've been affected by the media that we interact with every day. But looking at people acting on screen with no voice and no dialogue is a painful experience.
Oh, completely. And yeah, obviously we're not proper cinephiles because we can't get past that. But what was also annoying about it, because it's a non-talkie, the actors had to emote like crazy.
Yeah.
Which means everybody's acting like, they turned up to 11. So if I'm sad, then I have to make it damn sure that the people watching can see the sadness in my eyes.
Yeah, and that tends to be a characteristic of silent movies. They have to put those sort of over dramatic facial expressions in it. I did go down a rabbit hole of looking who Clara Bow is, because I kind of found her, quite appealing. She presented and the girl next door in a very sort of nice way, and she had the sort of, I don't know, she had some scenes where I was like, oh, and then I read into her real life story and it was horrific. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Her mother was a psychotic or had psychosis, and
nice.
This was done in 1927, and I think she retired and she did a couple of talkies, I believe, and then retired at the age of 28 and married a cowboy, had 2 sons, and then was in and out of sanatoriums,
wow.
Whatever. Yeah, and then died of a heart attack at age 60, I think. So not the nicest of lives before. And she was there were scandals around her, and then her secretary was embezzling money, and Yeah, it's and there was a quote about she said something about Marilyn Monroe, which was supportive of Marilyn Monroe, but I can't remember now. But she was definitely, and you know what? Strangely enough, Taylor Swift is coming out with a new album in May, and the last song on her album is called Clara Bow.
Get out of town.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just so coincidental that we've watched the movie, and then one of the most pop culture icons of the 21st century, whatever century we're in now, is actually coming out with a song entitled Clara Bow.
As a Swiftie, that's how you noticed that, right?
Yeah, no, I was going through all IMDb trivia, and then the last one was Taylor Swift's newest album, which it doesn't come out for a few months. Yeah, her last song on the listing will be Clara Bow. So a lot of Swifties might come along and read and listen to this podcast.
Nice.
Because Clara Bow.
This is how we get rich.
This is it. Clara Bow, Clara Bow, Clara Bow.
Did you say Clara Bow? What about Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift, Clara Bow.
There we go. That's good for 10,000 listens right there.
Yeah, the algorithm will sort us out there. Anyway, I was interested in the whole timeline of talkies. Obviously, the Jazz Singer came out around the same time, and this is deemed to be the first talkie, but it's not really. It's sort of it's silent movie, but he sings in it and it's live, and then Al Jolson actually ad-libbed in between scenes. And he came up with the famous line, "Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet," and that's where that derived from, I believe. But I just was watching a couple of YouTube clips of it, and well, if you could pass all the blackface thing, but that's a historical. And then I was like, well, what's the first full talkie? And that was Lights of New York from 1928, which is on YouTube and fully watchable, but it's very wooden and there's a grainy hiss throughout the entire movie. I didn't actually.
I guess it took them a couple of years to get the technology a little bit sorted.
Yeah, and the Broadway Melody was the name of the first movie who got the first Oscar for the first full talkie in 1929. So The Wings came out and was, it was in between things, and obviously it was a bit weird watching the movie and hearing the gunshots and the explosions, but then and the car, like he was making the car go and it was spluttering and everything. Then you just don't hear the voices. It was just my brain was going, "What's going on?"
Oh wow! So I got a version on YouTube that didn't have the car noises or the shots. So okay.
Oh well, that's what I read that today, that a lot of post production, the actual soundtrack, the music for this was lost for a while, and then they just found it again, and so there's probably lots of different versions of it floating around where maybe the sound synchronization, I think it was called, that there might be versions that don't have the sound effects.
It's a weird thing though, because if there's a soundtrack that goes with, surely you slap some voices over it.
Yeah, I think it was just, they were reluctant. Studios were reluctant to do it. It's just like going into 3D movies or whatever, which failed. They just didn't know if people would go for it. And actually, a lot of actors and actresses fell by the wayside when non-talkies turned into talkies because
they had terrible voices. Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, and the actress in this, who doesn't have a lot of things, Jobina Ralston, who plays Sylvia in this movie, she went and started doing talkies, but they found out she had a lisp.
Oh, disaster.
And so she was she was
game
left,
over.
Yeah, left by the wayside. Anyway, that's the historical background to this. The summary is 2 young men, one rich, one middle class, who are in love with the same woman, become fighter pilots in World War One. So we start off, and it's 1917. We're at the tail end of World War One, and Jack is dreams of flying, and Mary's the girl next door, played by Clara Bow, and there's a car, and they basically
she
call it
shooting star on it.
Yes, the shooting star, and that becomes a motif throughout the entire movie. We very quickly get into a scene where the movie is, you got to give it credit for the shots and the production value. It's probably going to be my highest score that I give this movie, is the production value and the work that was put into actually creating these shots.
So now you're going to say something nice about the swing scene. I actually found that annoying. If I'm honest, I found it kind of nauseating. And I was looking at the actors on the swing, and they didn't look comfortable, if I'm honest, because they're like just flipping over and back, and the girl looks like she's going to barf
Sylvia.
Sylvia,
So Sylvia is the woman that's both Jack and David. David's a wealthy dude and his parents are wealthy. Jack's just this normal dude. But yeah, the camera is basically, you can see there's pictures on the internet of how they shot it, and yeah, it's what you expect. There's a massive wooden platform on the other side of the camera where they are at. And poor Mary, Mary is in love with Jack, and Jack doesn't.
Jack's an idiot. He doesn't cop it.
Yeah, he's pretty much a dope. Anyway, massive subtitles come up. War! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
Yeah.
What was very interesting was it showed human male buttocks scene in this scene. And for 1927, in the recruitment office scene, they're all getting their medical in the background, and there was a bunch of naked dudes in the background, which was very interesting.
It was, and there seemed to be a bit of, man on man kissing as well, in a friendship kind of way. So sensibilities have obviously changed somewhat since then.
Also, I think David at some point fully kisses his mum on the lips as well.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I didn't feel my sensibilities were like, oh God, no, it's your mum.
Yeah, and Al Jolson just did it in the scene that I saw in The Jazz Singer. He did it to his mum too, so it must have been a 1920s thing.
No tongue in that one though, right?
No.
Good.
We get to be introduced to one character in this scene, Shrimp, the humor foil, but he just doesn't go anywhere in the movie.
I don't get this. He's the guy with the tats, right?
Yeah.
And
Dutch.
The running joke is that he's got a German sounding name.
Shrimp.
He gets into fights because of it, and that's the joke. That is the joke.
That's a joke.
Yeah, so it's not great. He gets knocked out a couple of times.
We don't really see him that much for the rest of the movie. It's like 3 scenes extra probably with him, and then
he runs.
He becomes
an
engineer
later. I would have been an engineer as well. That's way bloody safer.
Well, those planes looked a bit dodgy. All right, so then one of the important scenes, I guess, is when Sylvia's making a locket for David, the rich dude, and Jack takes it thinking it's his. On the back of the photo is, "To David, I love you," whatever. But Jack takes it and thinks it's for his. Yeah.
No, this is a whole lot of strife could be saved if she just went, "Nah, it's not for you, buddy."
Yeah, but she's like going, I couldn't. Well, she didn't say it. It came up on the screen. I couldn't tell him or whatever. Of course, Jack says goodbye to Mary with a firm handshake. Stupid.
Yep.
But I
not even a hug.
I kind of found it funny though the photograph she wanted to give him. It was just like her gurning beside in the garden or something, It's like typical Mary. Like she was a bit of a tomboy character.
Typical Mary, eh?
Yeah.
Classic Mary.
So David's parents aren't happy, so this scene lasts for like fucking 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Where they're just sitting there. The dad is like morose. He's like stone faced. And he's just looking into the distance, and then he's
emoting hard.
Yeah. So he's not happy, and then she gives him his teddy, and he takes that with him. I found it funny when he was saying goodbye to his dog. It was obviously the snack in his hand. You could just see the dog going for the snack.
Oh yes, goodbye. Give me the fucking snack.
Yeah, give me the fucking Scooby snack. But then so he kisses his mom there.
He does, and it lasts a bit long for my liking as well.
Yeah, it was a bit strange. So then it's mom, dad, and the dog just standing there. It's kind of humorous with the dog going. Yeah. So anyway, camp time happens, pre-boot camp, and Shrimp is there, and he gets smacked in the face because, I don't know, he pisses off the Irish instructor.
Drill instructor, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does mention the Irish. And then he shows his tattoo again, and the drill instructor
is going, or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So then obviously Jack and David are not good friends because they love the same woman and they know that. So there's like a montage of them doing their, getting fit and getting ready for war. And he's in the middle of doing calisthenics. He's drilling his foot into David's hat and fucking it up basically.
Then there's a scene then a couple of seconds later with the mass boxing. I don't know what the hell was why pilots or engineers need to have boxing gloves and beat crap out of each other with comically large boxing gloves in a group of like 50.
Yeah. Yeah, but they've become fast friends after that. They respect. Well, Jack knocks him down, and David like gets up, and then Jack goes, you've got some character.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, to be honest. Somebody snots me onto the ground, I'm not going to be happy about it and go, you're great.
Let's be friends.
Yeah.
Boxing friends.
Yeah. It is what it is. We move on quickly enough from it.
Yeah. Back home, and we just see a very quick shot of Mary driving, and that becomes apparent what happens to her later on. Back in the camp, Gary Cooper comes in for his cameo, and this pretty much this scene, his little cameo, started his career off basically.
Yeah, he's only in it for about 30 seconds, but he gets title recognition on it because he's just the two guys and his name, and he's in it. Hello guys, bye. I'm dead.
Yeah, this is the first time that the movie is sort of, here's what we're doing. We're taking film from the movies up in the plane up in the sky. So we see there's so many shots of this plane shadow just going across the camp. It's like it goes on forever, like just a couple of times. Anyway, there's a massive crash outside.
Cost a fortune. That's why it goes on forever.
Well, yeah, 2 million, whatever.
Yeah.
So he crashes, and they're cleaning up White's stuff, and soon, just a couple of seconds later after the crash, guy comes in. Yeah, you're up next. Let's go.
Like, oh, great! It's our chance to. What I love is though, like the training. The training is actually quite historically accurate, and it's pathetic training they get. But you get about 10 hours flight time at most, and then you have to go into combat. And this it reminded me very much of. You remember Blackadder back in the day?
Yeah.
A British TV comedy, but Blackadder goes forward, was set in World War One. And one of the episodes, they decide we'll go flying. It looks easy, and then they're welcomed into the 20 Minutes Club, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Is that like we just fight for 20 minutes and then we're done with the war?" And the guy's like, "Kinda, yeah. Your average life expectancy of a pilot in World War One is 20 minutes." So they kind of reminded me that the crash straight away in this kind of shows how lethal this job is for the guys.
Yeah, for sure. And actually the actors learned how to fly for the scenes. They actually did fly the planes.
And it's super impressive. These aren't great planes, let's be honest. They're not the most maneuverable, and they do damn good flying.
No, there's like the German one they show is a bloody steering wheel. And it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. That must be accurate for the Fokkers.
Yeah, there's a
bunch
of Fokkers.
The name of the plane.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Fokkers in that. Actually, when I lived in Germany, like there were still like Fokker 50s and Fokker 100s flying for Air Berlin, and I remember I flew in a Fokker 50, I think, and a Fokker 100. Yeah, but they weren't like prop planes or anything.
The guy at the front
jets,
the propeller that started.
Yeah. All right, off you go, low skates. Yeah, so they go on dawn patrol, and
that's when they meet the flying circus, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
There's one change from history that I don't really understand why they bothered. Because the leader of, in historical terms, the leader of the flying circus was the Red Baron, or Manfred von Richthofen. They changed his name in this for, I don't know why. They were scared he was going to sue them.
Yeah, it's like Kellerman or something.
Kellerman, Count Kellerman.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe did the Red Baron survive World War One?
Nope.
Oh, there you go.
He died with 80 confirmed kills. So he was pretty nifty. He died 28 years of age, I think.
Damn.
I did a bit of Googling because his name was annoying me. I knew it was wrong. And it was just like, nah, that ain't right, buddy.
Yeah, that's weird. They changed it up. But yeah, this came out not long after. It's like 9 years after World War One. So there's a bit of, I don't know, maybe they didn't want to memorialize him.
That's
and actually,
probably it, yeah.
And Kellerman in this movie was quite an admirable character because in one of the scenes, David is. Yeah, actually, it's this scene. There's a massive like war scene with Kellerman.
Yeah.
Klaus Kellerman, I think, whatever. And it's like the fight scenes are, they're excellent. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, they are. They
did
really
it.
Are good. Yeah.
Like Top Gun does it now, and we go, man, that's crazy. But they had cameras on the front of the planes here, and these are real shots. Anyway, David's gun jams, and Klaus Kalleman's like, "Oh yeah, no worries, I'm not going to shoot you."
So yeah, I think that's historically accurate, because there was yeah, unlike the lads down in the trenches, there was a brethren across the divides in this. Like they respected each other. Now, obviously, that's the last time that ever happened in a war, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in World War One, the flyboys all looked out for each other, even on different sides, which is weird.
Yeah, probably just because of the shit they both go through in different sides. Yeah. There was a good scene as well. Like, you got to give them credit for the ideas they had. Like, Jack's plane is shot up and it shows the bullet holes go into his fuselage, and the fuselage disappears and shows the busted pipe inside. Yeah. It's quite good.
For its time, actually, technically difficult for them to do, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Well, like CGI then.
Yeah, like the champagne bubbles later on.
Oh, God. Well, I don't get that.
No, it's weird.
It's 5 minutes of the movie, it's just like, make no sense. But we can talk about that when
Yeah. So Mary is a driver. She's in the war. She's driving around in a Jeep, all happy and stuff. There's a ominous introduction to the Gotha plane loading up its bombs. Some cool overhead shots of it being wheeled out of its warehouse. It was
listed as a giant plane. I suppose for its time, perhaps it was. But yeah, it's just like
a big biplane.
2 Cessnas now.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. Some good shots.
Oh yeah. There was actually this scene with Mary in the village where it gets bombed.
Yeah.
That was real bombs, right?
Yeah, definitely. So to explain this scene, there was multiple POVs of this scene. There was from the plane itself, and you just saw the bombs go down, and they just blew up the houses.
Open, and they just literally kicked them out, and then stuff actually explodes, and there's no way that was special effects. So it's impressive.
Oh, it's very impressive, yeah. And then so Mary is down there. She just parked up her Jeep, and she just hides under it, and the steeple of the church just falls on the car. Which looked a bit fake, but there was a lot of stuff going on around her. It was quite a good scene, actually, and I've clipped it already just to put it on our TikTok, because I think that's a decent scene. There's a bunch of English, I think, or American soldiers get their ceiling falls in on them in the basement as well, and that's well shot as well.
Very well shot, yeah.
Also, we have to mention that when the guns are firing, there's also like a overlay of painted gun flare in orange. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was impressive as well. That must have been scratched on or etched on after the shots were taken. That's impressive for the time.
Yeah, it's the same with the bubbles, I guess. It's just hand drawn onto each frame or whatever.
That's time consuming. That really is time consuming.
That's where the money went, I guess.
Yeah.
So Jack and David save the day. They go after the Gotha and the 2 planes, and they get their medals. Yeah, they're now
officially fighter pilot aces.
Yeah, so then we get the famous scene in Paris when they're getting a bit of leave, and they're in this big Folie Auberge, famous pub or whatever, and we see a massive sort of tracking shot which pushes through like 4 or 5 tables until everybody separates, and we see Jack there getting trashed on champagne. So
it's a great scene, though, isn't it?
It's a great scene
for what they had available to them at that time. It's like obviously very practical effect, but just works so well. It's very, very good.
Yeah, and I read that they wrote stories for each of the couples at the table.
So really?
Actually, yeah. So they're kind of you can make up your own stories for them if you want, but there's people. There's a couple having an affair, so you can see them look around, like just paranoid where they're seen. So it was made by a camera on a overhead track, going through basically slowly, and as the camera went by, obviously the actors split apart.
Jump out of the way, yeah.
Yeah. So no, it was great though. But I actually read. I don't know if it's true that the actor who played Jack, he was actually drunk. He was 22 years old and hadn't drunk a lot, so I think They were
So they
drinking
actually
real
used real champagne on him.
I don't know if it's corroborated, but
Okay. It would be nice to think that.
Yeah, he certainly looks trashed when it finally peels into him.
Bubbles.
Yeah, so there's bubbles. There's lots of so he gets fascinated by bubbles in the champagne, and then this sort of hand sketched animated bubbles come out, and "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles" song pops up, and yeah, he's obviously messing around with ladies, and then Mary goes in and gets desperately sad because he doesn't recognize her because he's basically
It's trolleyed.
he's trolleyed. So some sort of weird woman just goes to Mary. Yeah, put this dress on.
Yeah,
And
this
get
was
him
a
back.
very strange toilet scene, wasn't it? Here, put on this dress and, seduce your drunken man friend.
Yeah.
That seems a bit advantage taking.
Yeah, it's interesting. So she goes back out and wins him over or whatever, but it doesn't matter because he falls asleep on the bedroom beds that they went up to. And then, again, we've another sort of nude scene, which is shocking.
Surprised here because you can basically, she's kind of topless for a half scene, isn't she?
Yeah, for a split second, and I think it's probably the first maybe nude scene in cinema history. I'm not sure about that, but I read something
apart from
today.
the lad's buttocks earlier.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, so we've got lad's buttocks earlier, and then we've got a chest, Mary's chest in this one. So she's getting dressed. She's trying to get her work clothes on again, and then some military police pop in and go, "Hey, up, this is nice." And then it lingers on their faces for fucking 5 minutes, it feels like.
Yeah.
So she basically gets fired. We get to find out because she's not allowed to do that.
Seems unusual, but okay. You're fired for getting your rocks off with somebody else on service.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of getting into the last couple of big scenes here, but they kind of last for a long time. They're back out in the field, David and Jack, and David's got a hunch. "I'm not coming back today, man.
Got a bad feeling about this."
That's Tropic Thunder. Every fucking episode.
All movies should be compared to Tropic Thunder.
So Jack's going, nah, you'll be back. And then
grand.
David's got a letter from Sylvia about David, or about Jack and Jackson. She's basically saying in the letter, "Oh, Jack still thinks I love him, but it's not true," or whatever.
Yeah, at some point she needs to, drop the bombshell on him because keeping them strung along for how many years is it now? 2 years?
Yeah.
A bit harsh.
So they have a little bit of a fight, and David, he picks up the picture that falls out of the locket, and instead of giving it back to him, he rips it up because he doesn't really want to. He doesn't want Jack to see the message in the back. It's for David. It's not for Jack. So they kind of leave on their last mission. He leaves his teddy bear behind, and that's the bad omen.
Yeah, and then they had this thing.
They did.
So when they were going up together in the planes, I think it was Dave said to Jack, "All set," and he got an okay back, but he refused the okay this time, which was very ominous. Something bad's going to happen.
Yeah. It was written in the cards.
Yeah,
it was all set. And big fight scene again, and just crazy shot, technically excellent.
Very impressive fight scene, especially the ones where it's face on the pilots, because nowadays you just think to just sit them in a blue screen behind them and they'll be standing there with the joystick, flying the plane.
Yeah,
this is people flying a plane and doing some ridiculously dangerous stuff as well, so it's very impressive.
Yeah, and I think they got a lot of army people involved in the production, and got all these planes. I think actually they were running out of money or something, and the military did help them or something like that. So there's a lot of sort of accurate technical things in the movie, but yeah, I think the whole, like, if the movie didn't have these fight scenes, we'd be going, what the hell are we watching?
Well, that's very true, actually, because aside from the technical impressiveness of it all,
Yeah,
like the main story. I'm getting to rating it later, but it's a bit weak, to be honest. It's a love triangle, but
yeah, it's a love triangle, but that the one side of the triangle, Sylvia, just doesn't have a part to play in it at all.
No.
Obviously, you've got the girl next door, Mary, who's probably the most interesting character in the movie.
Well, that kind of makes it a love rectangle.
True. Yeah.
Just to be awkward.
Yeah. And of course, she's like on the outs. It's like she's not even part of the rectangle, so it is a triangle, and she's outside the triangle. She's an external foci.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Thanks, Mrs. McCavitt. I like that. It was quite funny when. So they're both fighting, and they get separated, and there's these air balloons. That's why they're going chasing after these air balloons. Yeah, and then it's like
spotters.
beer. Yeah. It's beer zeit in the lift balloons. It's two lads having a few beers, and then
great. Yeah,
Jack comes and fucks them up.
Yeah. Asshole.
Yeah,
Just have a couple of beers and then shoots my blimp.
Yeah, it's great though. Like the scene from the airplane just shows him diving onto the balloon, and it's great. David crashes. Oh, actually, I read somewhere there was two major. Well, it says in IMDb there were two major injuries. Somebody broke their neck, and I believe it might have been David's crash, perhaps, where the stunt man broke his neck, but he was fine. He came back to the film shoot after 6 weeks or something.
But then I read back in the day, he didn't get time off for a broken neck.
No.
Wow.
And then I think it was stupidly written. They said, some guy was injured, then he died. It's like, well, then just say that. Don't say he was injured. Just
like he was injured. How was he injured? He got his head cut off.
Yeah. He died after getting injured in that order. Yeah. So I was like, there was thousands of extras. Like in this final scene, there's like overhead views of the trenches, trench fields. It's an amazing, like it's bigger than Saving Private Ryan's scenes. Like there's so many more people involved. I still think they didn't know how to die properly in these movies yet, though, did they? Like it was all like, and then they'd pirouette and
but I think that was kind of part of the whole non-talky thing as well. Everything has to be extra. You have to emote the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So when you die, you die.
Yeah. Make sure the audience knows you died. There's no sound yet, so we're waiting for the sound to be invented.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So anyway, Kellerman again is a sound bloke. He drops a note on the airfield going, "Yo, your
sorry for
your pilot died. Yeah, sorry about that. He crashed and died." And then we've got these trench warfare scenes. Jack's on a rampage, basically. He's basically on a one-man wrecking machine. He goes down to
so they're doing the big push at this point. This is basically the end of the war, the big last push.
Yeah.
And the German lines are being stormed by the Allies.
There's tank crushing.
Yeah, that on the machine gun pillbox. That was harsh.
That was harsh.
Got a tank in your face.
Yeah, and I actually saw an animation recently of the actual the line in World War One, and somebody had the data points for each platoon or whatever, and from 1914 to 1918 it just stayed there with a couple of pushes here and there, but the end to the run up they just went crazy, the Allies, and pushed
just
Germany.
Everybody go now.
Well, it's like, what are we waiting for? It's been 4 years, whatever, let's go. We're gonna stay here forever.
But the problem is that their tactics at the time had not adapted to the fact that we have machine guns now. You just do a push on that, and for the most part, everybody dies.
They sorted that out by World War II.
Yeah, oh great, thanks.
Yeah.
That's really sorted now. They can kill people much better.
Yeah, so Jack's mowing down a lot of columns of Germans and stuff, and David by this time isn't dead. He crashed his plane, but he's behind enemy lines.
Slightly shot at this point.
Slightly shot. Then he decides to nick a German plane.
Nicks a Fokker.
He does nick a Fokker. And the Fokkers aren't too happy with that.
Yeah, but he messes them all up.
He does. He takes a couple of runs at them, and has
Yeah,
a
a fucker on the ground is no good.
no. So then, big words victory comes up, and yay, it's the end of World War One. But unfortunately, Jack meets David in the sky.
On his way home, yeah.
David's going.
Yo, one more for the road.
David's going. No, it's me, Jack. Don't you know it's me?
Yeah. No. He
Well, of course he doesn't. He can't hear you
because it's not a talkie. He can't hear.
Yeah, it's not talking. Oi!
He was waiting for the text to come up.
Yeah, but so he crashes after getting
shot to shite by his buddy.
Swiss cheesed by Jack. He crashes into actually the woman and the daughter who comes out, I believe, is the director's wife and daughter.
Oh, is it?
I believe so, yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
sorry, you go ahead there.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's a very interesting scene that pops up after this. I'll let you finish this out, but the conveyance of the cadaver afterwards is hilarious.
Yeah, I picked that up too.
We'll get to it in a second, yeah.
Yeah. So he gets dragged into the thing, and there's a French dude there going, "Yeah, you're screwed. You've got a couple of minutes." And then they bring Jack in, and Jack goes, "Oh my god,
oh, I shot my buddy,
David." Well, and then c'est la guerre is
c'est la guerre. That's the word, buddy.
Yeah.
It's I like how some randomer it goes, yeah, he's got about 2 minutes. How do you know that?
Yeah, medical advancement hasn't got to that point just yet.
It's impressive. I'd say he's got about 47 seconds, maybe.
Well, if his guts were hanging out his stomach, I would have, I'd been fine, but he didn't look too bad.
No, he was just I feel a bit sick.
Yeah. Then they have a nice long kiss.
Yeah. It's again unusual for our sensibilities of nowadays. Like you don't go around kissing your buddies.
Yeah, it's times have changed. We don't do that anymore. Well, maybe some people do.
Yeah,
people who are comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll have to admit. To be honest, if you're dying, you ain't getting no tongue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then we have the culmination. All set.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's a very visual scene where the propeller of the plane stops. Then
I actually quite like that. That's a nice tying it up sort of scene. He's toast. No more flying for you, buddy.
How do you think I described the conveyance of the dead body in 3 words?
I wrote down on mine. I wrote down Bernard Cart corpse WTF.
No, I just went fucking dog cart.
It was the most surreal scene because it's not done for comedy. I assume it's not done for comedy. But I've never seen a St. Bernard pulling a cart with a corpse in it before, and I don't think I'll ever see it again. It was weird. I don't understand why it was in the movie. I loved it that it was in the movie, but I don't get it.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere, and he was struggling as well, the poor dog.
But yeah, he's pulling a corpse. He's not a horse.
There was a bloody hill up there, and there was a guy. Yeah, he got a couple of salutes, David, as well. So it was. If I had connected with David in any way, I would have been emotional about it. But
yeah, I wasn't. I was just more interested in the dog's welfare, to be honest.
Yeah. I was then thinking, no, they must have had like a platoon of dogs to help with carting when they ran out of horses.
It quite possibly is true.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody returns from war, and Jack is returning.
Well, not everybody.
Oops.
A lot of people didn't make it back.
No, hundreds of millions or whatever worldwide. So Jack goes to David's family, eh?
Sorry about shooting your son. Hey.
Here's his teddy bear.
Here's his teddy bear. There we go. Then we finish off with Mary. He's back at his house. And Mary's, girl next door across the fence, hops across. And then he realizes, wait a second, I love you. You're deadly. Then there's a shooting star. And then Mary says, when it happens. Or he says, and this ties back to the first scene, because she says to him in the first scene, you know what happens when you see a shooting star? You can kiss the girl you love, or the person you love. And he says it back to her in this. And it ties up, and he realizes that he was being an idiot all these years. Didn't actually like Sylvia all that much, and fancied Mary. I think he fancied Mary because he was stuck with her, and he found out that Sylvia didn't like him.
Yeah, we see Sylvia for a brief second in between these scenes, just sitting in the garden weeping, and there's no conversation. Like, why not wrap that up? Go, Sylvia goes, "It was David all along," something like that.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, it was kind of his chance to get with her. I got him out of the
back.
way.
Yeah, David wasn't good enough to survive the war.
I only shot him a little bit, so.
But I also now have a crippling champagne addiction. Sorry.
Bubbles.
Bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably woke up from every night for the rest of his life just going, bubbles. Poor Mary's there going, Jesus Christ.
What have I done?
Yeah.
This guy's an alco.
All right. I don't want to leave without saying I respect the entire technical production of this movie.
Yeah.
It's hard, though, to rate a movie that is historically significant, but also you have to rate it as a movie that you either enjoy or you didn't.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what your take on it is, but I'm more into the enjoyment of movies, not the technical aspects of them. So I rated it with the enjoyment in mind. Not that I didn't take into consideration the technical aspects of it as well, but I didn't bump it up too much for that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm just looking at my final scores here, and I'm trying to just not be an asshole about it, but I don't think I am. No. So I'm giving the plot 2 out of 5. It's below average. It's a sort of very plain love story triangle thing. Obviously, with Mary coming into it, it adds a little bit more depth to it, but it doesn't get that far. Obviously, war is war. I didn't say like with Saving Private Ryan, the plot isn't the best thing about it. It's the production value, and this is probably going to mirror something along those lines. So I'm giving 2.
I went with 2.5, and I wrote down harsh question mark as well. I may have bumped it up a little bit because of the time period it was done, and it's not a talkie, and everybody's emoting like crazy. Storylines weren't all that complex back in the day. Maybe it would get substantially higher had we been in 1929. But yeah, 2.5 is as much as I could give it.
Yeah, I'll give 2.5 to the acting. I that might be generous, but I really like Clara Bow, and I think she's becoming this sort of, I don't know, hero for me. Just after watching it, just after knowing her story now and how much of a shit show of a life she had, and maybe Taylor Swift and I can talk about this
when she's on next week.
Yeah. So I think it's mostly for Clara Bow, because I was looking through her scenes today, just picking clips for TikTok, and Trudy is kind of just cute in a way that she's very happy that when she was waving at Jack, the shooting star, when he was when he saved them from the Gotha plane. She was just happy and joyful, and you could see her saying the actual words without hearing her. And then, she had a face for silent movies.
Yeah.
She did have a face, yeah.
I have to agree with you completely. I thought she was, I'm not going to say excellent, but I thought she stood out in terms of acting. The two guys were kind of caricatures. She's actually not. I think she was a character, and she was quite interesting the whole way through it. Whereas everybody else, I was like, eh.
Yeah, actually, you know what? When I saw Gary Cooper come in and then he was over, it was like he was actually good for the 2 minutes he was in it.
He was genuinely good, and then he was gone.
Yeah, then you go blew up in the middle of.
You don't even see him dying. It's just and he's dead.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. So. Yeah, the next one, sound brackets track. It's
That's
kind of hard.
I give it 5. I just wrote down NA. It can't be scored.
You're doing NA. Well, that's I just gave it 2 because I needed to give it something. So
I give it a 2.5 just to make it averaged out. Then I suppose
what did you give acting? 2.5.
I give 2.5 for acting as well. Sorry, yeah. But yeah, the music is like you actually got to hear some soundtrack. So
Yeah, so I heard sound effects, and you obviously heard the music, didn't you? You just weren't watching 2.5 hours of silence, were you?
I watched 2.5 hours of silence.
You fucking idiot.
I didn't know there was.
What?
I got 3 different versions of it, and they were all silent completely.
You need to look at a website that I get most of my stuff from.
Okay.
You got it on YouTube? That's weird.
Yeah,
Why?
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's probably, I don't know. Yeah, probably not the most official, like, the stuff. Yeah, the ones that maybe are remixed and everything find their way onto more structured websites, let's say. Like, not some idiot in a basement in Nebraska going, it says wings. It's silent. Let me upload it.
Technically correct. Yeah, it was an absolute horror show for me to watch.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right, I'm going to send you a link after this, and you're going to have to watch it again.
No.
Well, then you probably do have to go NA because you didn't have any fucking sound.
Yeah, that's why I wrote down NA. I thought there was none. Sorry. I thought it was like a silent movie, so it was silent, and I was like, oh, okay.
Even non-talkies have music. That's just
but I always thought it was a lad on a
piano. Live in the movie theater. Yeah, that was true though. That did happen, maybe, but not in this case. Anyway, you'll see when I send you the link what these scenes are kind of supposed to be like.
I don't get the feeling that it would have made all that much difference, if I'm honest, though.
Yeah. All right, listen. Because of the production value and what they did for a 1927 movie, I'm giving production 4.5.
Ooh, big number.
Yeah, because I need to give it the respect it deserves. And I think with all the average scoring I've given it, I think production value and for what it is in the annals of cinema history, the fight scenes, the airplanes they used, and the shots sometimes of just going into the cafe, going across all the tables, and this, they made something.
Yeah,
they made something
for the time. I had it at 4.5 myself, but I knocked it down for one thing, not because of technical aspects, but the bubble scene annoyed me because it kept going on.
Yeah,
and I knocked it down because of that. It's harsh, maybe I'm being a bit pedantic, but
no, that's fine. No, I felt the same way. You're giving 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same because even when he went into the bedroom, he started getting bubbles out of the bedpost.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's like, no.
What's happening? Yeah, having been drunk quite a few times myself, I can categorically say that has never happened.
No, for sure. Maybe it was just a World War I thing along with kissing men on the mouth.
Yeah, times have changed.
Empire magazine, they must have given this retroactively because they weren't around in 1927. David Parkinson gave it 60 out of 100. He said, Clara Bow is mesmerizing in this ahead of its Thai Air Force drama.
Yeah, fair enough. I do like the Clara Bow thing.
Yeah, and New York Daily News gave it 100. I'm guessing this was back in the day. It says, this is a great and glorious movie, and its makers have a right to be proud of themselves. That sounds very 1920s, just very straightforward and clap on the back. All right, so let's shoot down this Fokker and finish this episode, and we will choose. So this is our last random pick of the all-time list of Oscar winners for pictures. Are you happy about that?
Yeah, I think we've been spoilt a little bit. We've indulged ourselves with some good movies and some historically important movies, so it's time to go back to the drudgery of mid-table misery.
Yeah, that's fine. So the Oscars are next week, I believe, if I do my maths correctly, and yeah, our next episode will be out after that. So we'll be back to normal for episode 49, but episode 48 will be our last Oscar winner, and let's roll the dice right now. And we are getting we're getting number 61.
Oh, okay.
Which is... You better have some time on your hands. It's Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, crikey.
I don't think I've ever watched it. Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched it fully, so I'm
it is
okay with it.
I have seen it a long time ago, but Yeah, it is a crazy long movie.
How long do you think it is?
Oh, 3.5.
Lawrence of Arabia is 3 hours and 38 minutes long.
Yeah, fucking hell. At least, it'd be interesting to compare it to the Sean Connery movie that was a rip-off of this.
The Wind and the Lion.
The Wind and the Lion, yeah.
Well, there was a re-release in 2002, so the summary in Metacritic has the 40th anniversary release of David Lean's 1962 masterpiece, starring Peter O'Toole as one of the most electrifying debuts in film history. So we're going to have to synchronize which versions we watch, and you don't watch a silent movie.
Oh my God, this is terrible. 3.5 hours and no music.
The hell's he saying?
No, I'm looking forward to this actually. 3.5 hours. It's going to be a slog, but it's a good movie.
Yeah,
or at least it was when I was a kid.
No, it'll be good actually to go through it, and we've had a lot of classics in this Oscar-winning run of episodes. So finish it off with a bona fide epic classic, I would guess, and that'll be a good end before we go back to watching Mutants from Outer Space or something.
Or Metroland.
Metroland 2.
Oh, this time it's more miserable.
Yeah, or Gurney. All right, so that's great. So we'll see you all on episode 48 for Lawrence of Arabia, which will be cool. And follow us on TikTok or whatever if you want to see some clips from these movies that we just talk about. So if you don't actually know these movies, we put scenes from the movies onto TikTok so you can actually see the movies if you're not following along and watching them with us. And yeah, we're all on all the podcast platforms on YouTube, so check us out there and subscribe and follow. We're getting a couple of followers new on Spotify every week, which is good. And so yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.